In recent years, a centuries-old practice has resurfaced in modern wellness discussions, capturing the attention of those seeking enhanced physical vitality, mental clarity, and spiritual connection. Semen retention, the deliberate avoidance of ejaculation, has evolved from a guarded secret of ancient monks and yogis to a trending topic across social media platforms and self-improvement forums. While contemporary proponents often focus on claims of increased testosterone, improved focus, and heightened confidence, the deeper dimensions of this practice, particularly its spiritual underpinnings, are frequently overlooked. In many ancient cultures, semen was regarded as a sacred substance. It was seen as the physical representation of the creative force that brings life into the world. Just as a seed contains the blueprint of a tree, semen carries the blueprint for creating a human being. Because of this creative potential, many spiritual teachers believe that this energy could also create something beyond physical life. It could generate wisdom, insight, and spiritual awareness when conserved and redirected. The idea is simple. The same force that can create a child can also create a powerful mind and spirit when it is not constantly expelled. When a man practices restraint, he begins to accumulate this creative energy. Over time, that stored energy begins to influence the brain, the emotions, and the depth of perception. The result is not merely physical vitality. It is mental illumination. One of the first changes many practitioners notice is mental silence. The mind becomes less noisy and more focused. Thoughts become clearer and more organized. When a person constantly chases pleasure and stimulation, the mind becomes scattered. Energy flows outward in many directions, and it becomes difficult to think deeply or reflect on life. Semen retention reverses this pattern. Instead of chasing external stimulation, the practitioner learns to control impulses. This self-control gradually brings calmness to the nervous system. The mind stops racing and begins to settle. In this calm state, wisdom naturally emerges. It is similar to the surface of water. When water is disturbed, it becomes impossible to see the bottom. But when the water becomes still, everything becomes visible. Semen retention helps the mind become still enough to perceive deeper truths. Divine wisdom is closely tied to self-mastery. A man who cannot control his impulses will struggle to access deeper understanding. His mind will be dominated by desires, distractions, and emotional turbulence. But when a man begins to control one of the strongest biological urges, the urge for sexual release, he builds a powerful sense of discipline. That discipline spreads into every other area of life. He becomes more mindful about what he eats, what he watches, how he speaks, and how he spends his time. This growing self-awareness strengthens the mind. With a stronger mind comes better judgment. With better judgment comes wisdom. Over time, the practitioner begins to notice that he reacts less impulsively and thinks more carefully about his actions. He becomes more thoughtful, more patient, and more aware of the consequences of his choices. These qualities are hallmarks of wisdom. Another commonly reported experience among those practicing semen retention is an increase in intuition. Intuition is the ability to understand something instantly without conscious reasoning. It feels like a quiet inner voice guiding decisions and perceptions. When the mind is overloaded with distractions and constant stimulation, this inner voice becomes difficult to hear. But when a person practices restraint and cultivates inner discipline, the mind becomes more receptive. It is as if a deeper part of consciousness begins to speak. Many practitioners report feeling more aware of people's intentions, more sensitive to subtle emotional cues, and more capable of sensing the right direction in life. This heightened intuition can feel like divine guidance. While some may interpret this experience in spiritual terms and others in psychological terms, the effect is similar, a deeper sense of understanding and clarity. The concept of preserving sexual energy to cultivate wisdom is not new. It appears in many spiritual traditions across the world. In ancient India, yogic teachings spoke about ojas, a subtle energy believed to be produced through disciplined living and the conservation of sexual essence. Ojas was said to nourish the brain, enhance intelligence, and support spiritual insight. In Taoist philosophy, Sexual energy was considered a powerful life force that could be refined and circulated through the body to strengthen vitality and consciousness. Even within certain monastic traditions in Christianity and other religions, celibacy was practiced as a way to focus spiritual energy on prayer, contemplation, and divine connection. While these traditions differ in language and cultural context, they share a common belief. Sexual energy is powerful, and when directed wisely, it can elevate the mind and spirit. One of the greatest benefits of semen retention is the development of intense focus. Modern life is full of distractions. Social media, entertainment, and constant stimulation pull attention in many directions. Over time, this weakens the ability to concentrate deeply. However, when a man practices semen retention, he often experiences a surge of motivation and mental energy. This energy can be channeled into productive activities such as learning, creativity, business, or spiritual study. As focus improves, the mind becomes capable of deeper thought. Instead of skimming the surface of ideas, the practitioner begins to explore them with patience and curiosity. This deeper engagement with knowledge naturally leads to greater wisdom. Wisdom is not merely about knowing many things, it is about understanding them deeply. Another key aspect of divine wisdom is emotional balance. A wise person is not easily controlled by anger, jealousy, or impulsive reactions. Instead, they maintain a calm and thoughtful approach to challenges. Semen retention can support emotional stability by reducing the cycle of constant craving and release that often influences mood and behavior. As the practitioner becomes more disciplined, emotional reactions begin to soften. Patience increases. Compassion becomes easier to express. With emotional stability comes the ability to observe life more clearly. Instead of reacting to every situation emotionally, the practitioner begins to step back and reflect before responding. This reflective mindset is one of the foundations of wisdom. Many men who commit to semen retention report feeling a stronger sense of purpose. When sexual energy is constantly released through indulgence, it can sometimes drain motivation and direction. But when that energy is conserved, it often seeks another outlet. This energy may begin to fuel creativity, ambition, spiritual exploration, or personal growth. The practitioner may suddenly feel a desire to build something meaningful, to improve himself, or to contribute to the world in a positive way. Purpose and wisdom are deeply connected. When a person feels aligned with a meaningful goal, their mind becomes clearer and their decisions become more thoughtful. Life begins to feel guided rather than random. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of semen retention is the emergence of what many describe as an inner teacher. As the mind becomes quieter and more focused, insights begin to arise naturally. Solutions to problems appear unexpectedly. Creative ideas flow more easily. It can feel as though a deeper level of intelligence within the mind has awakened. This inner guidance is what many traditions refer to as divine wisdom. It is not necessarily supernatural. Rather, it may be the result of a brain functioning at a higher level of clarity and discipline. When distractions decrease and energy increases, the mind becomes capable of deeper reflection and creative thinking. The answers we seek are often already within us. They simply require the right mental conditions to emerge. While semen retention can be a powerful practice, it is important to approach it with balance and self-awareness. The goal should not be repression or unhealthy guilt surrounding sexuality. Sexual energy is a natural and important part of human life. Instead, the focus should be on conscious choice and self-mastery. Semen retention is about learning to direct one's energy intentionally rather than being controlled by impulses. It is a practice of discipline, awareness, and personal growth. When practiced with balance, it can become a tool for strengthening the mind and cultivating deeper wisdom. Divine wisdom is not something that appears overnight. It grows slowly through consistent effort, reflection, and self-discipline. Semen retention can act as a catalyst for this growth by strengthening mental clarity, emotional stability, and self-control. Over time, the practitioner may find that his perspective on life changes. He becomes less focused on temporary pleasures and more interested in long-term growth and understanding. He begins to see patterns in life more clearly. He becomes more compassionate toward others. His decisions become guided by thoughtful reflection rather than impulse. In this way, the practice of semen retention becomes more than a physical discipline. It becomes a path toward inner mastery and deeper awareness. The phenomenon of semen retention invites us into a deeper conversation about the relationship between ancient wisdom and modern life. At its best, the practice offers an opportunity to engage consciously with one of the most powerful forces in human experience, sexual energy, and to consider how this energy might be directed not only toward reproduction and pleasure, but also toward creativity, service, and spiritual awakening. Yet the wisdom traditions that originated these practices were never simply about semen retention. They were about self-knowledge, about freedom from unconscious conditioning, about the realization of one's deepest nature. Brahmacharya, Tantra, and Taoist inner alchemy offered comprehensive maps of human potential in which sexual practice was one element among many. For those drawn to explore semen retention, the invitation is to approach it with the same spirit of inquiry and self-compassion that characterized the ancient traditions. To ask not merely, will this make me more focused or confident, but how might I relate to my own energy with greater awareness and intentionality? To recognize that divine wisdom, whatever form it takes, always leads toward greater wholeness, connection, and freedom, never toward shame, rigidity, or disconnection from oneself or others. In the integration of ancient insight and modern understanding, we may discover that the deepest wisdom lies not in any single practice, but in the conscious, compassionate, and curious engagement with our own experience, including the whole spectrum of our sexual and creative energies.